Israel started speaking what they could see. They started speaking, instead of faith, they started speaking fear. And I think that's a lot of people's problem today, isn't it? Instead of speaking what God says, they speak out of fear. Oh, I'm just afraid such and such is going to happen. I'm just afraid. I don't even want to. You know what I mean? They let fear talk. Listen, fear will speak just like faith will speak. Fear, I believe this, fear is a spirit. Fear is a spirit and will come and whisper to you. I've heard it. Out of the blue, out of nowhere, you hear, what kind of thought was that? You start hearing these things. Don't let fear speak, because that spirit wants to speak through you. Listen, I'm talking to spiritual people today. The spirit of fear wants to speak through you. And what happens when you start declaring what fear says? You give the spirit a voice. Instead, you need to give the word of God voice in your life. Don't you give fear an inch. You with me? I remember, I've mentioned this story maybe before, but I remember when my son, Bram, he was about 2 years old-ish, and he was upstairs playing with his siblings, and I don't exactly know how it happened, but I know he put his thumb into the backside of a door by the hinges, and the door was slammed shut, and his thumb was still barely attached to his hand. And I took him to the doctor, and it was just a bloody mess. I'm sorry, it's so gross, but I was just trying to keep his thumb on there and keep him from playing with it. And I thought, he's going to have to be a shop teacher, you know? These thoughts start coming in my head. And I thought, oh no. You know, in your head, you start hearing these voices. Fear says, that thing's coming off. There's no way. You know what I mean? Fear will start talking to you like that. That's impossible. Look at this. Fear wants you to speak. I refuse. Now listen, I'm not telling you I'm perfect. There's been so many times in my life where I maybe have messed up. But in this moment, I knew from the Lord, I got to only speak what God is speaking. So I said, you're fine, boy. You're going to be fine. His mom was getting upset. I said, no, he's going to be fine. We took him to the doctor. You know, because in your head, you think, he's going to lose this. I took him to the doctor. The nurse looked at it. She said, oh, that looks bad. He might lose that. I said, no, he's going to be just fine. Thank you. They're going to stitch it right back on. No problem. Took him in. The doctor looked at it. He said, whew, that looks bad. I said, it's fine. It's just stitch it up. It's fine. He said, I can stitch that. I can stitch it up. He stitched that thing back on, and he did a great job. The Lord was working through that, man. And he looked at it. He said, that thumbnail's, he's never going to have a thumbnail on that thumb. I said, yes, he is. It's going to be just fine. He'll be able to scratch just like everybody else. and we went home. They gave us some paperwork. We went home. That thumbnail never came off. I took him back in to get the stitches out, and the nurse said, what did the orthopedic say? I said, what? They said, this says, it gave you some paperwork that you're supposed to take him to an orthopedic. I said, I didn't read the paperwork. I got the thumb was back on. She said, no, there was some, that was serious. Could have been some damage to the bone. The doctor was concerned that the thumb could still fall off or whatever was going to happen. There was going to be some problem with the bone. I said, fine, I'll take him to the orthopedic, but he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I took him in there, and the orthopedic, I promise you, he x-rayed that thing. He came back in. He said, why are you here? I said, they told me at the emergency room I had to come in here. He said, there's nothing wrong with that. I can't even see where there was anything that happened to it. There's no damage to anything. Listen, in the natural, you want to start talking out of fear. In the natural, and it's natural, but you are not natural. You got to start talking like God talks. Don't give fear any place in your life. He says this back in Job, again, if you could put up chapter 3, verse 25. He says in the King James, for the thing, all this stuff happened to Job, all these bad situations, all the things, his children died, all this. He said, for the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come to me. What did Job greatly fear? I can tell you because he said it. In chapter 1, you see he's making sacrifices every day for his children because he's afraid that one of them has spoken against God and that God's going to destroy them. He was greatly afraid for his children. Is that natural to be afraid for your children? Yes, it is. Before I had kids, I didn't think I would be afraid of anything. And then I had kids. I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to hurt themselves. And this is going to happen. And that's going to happen. And you start getting this fear that wants to come on you. And maybe there's something else that you're going through a situation. You thought, oh, I'm not afraid of anything. And then something comes against you. And you think, oh man, maybe some kind of illness or sickness or some kind of financial crisis or something comes on. And then suddenly you're anxious, and you thought, man, I didn't ever think I'd be anxious about anything. But now you're afraid and you're anxious, and all this stuff is building and building and building. Listen to me. You have to learn how to speak the word of God in the face of fear. That's the only way it's going to leave, because as soon as you give him a voice, he knows he can stay. You've given him permission to stay. But you got to learn how to speak the word of God. It's dangerous to talk about fear. And I'm going to give you a couple scriptures here real quick. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 2. Solomon says this: you've been trapped by the words of your lips, ensnared by the words of your mouth. Look at Psalm 39, verse 1. I said, I will guard my ways so that I may not sin with my tongue. I will guard my mouth with a muzzle as long as the wicked are in my presence. You get what he's saying? I don't want to say anything. If the enemy's standing there listening, I don't want to give him any ammunition. I don't want to give him anything he can use. I don't want to give fear an inch. In fact, he says this, Proverbs chapter 30, verse 32. If you've done foolishly in lifting up yourself, or you've thought evil, put your hand over your mouth. Some of you, that's good advice. That's good advice for me. If you get thinking the wrong things, if you start thinking about something contrary to the word, put your hand over your mouth. I'd rather walk around like this all day than say the wrong thing. Get your mouth in check. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it ministered to your spirit today. And let me tell you, if you want to see more videos from us, be sure to hit the like button or the subscribe button. And also, we're live every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Hope that you can join us. Hey, keep living the abundant life that Jesus called you to live. God bless.